Welcome back, everybody. Joel's here with another message of divine light just for you. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's been going on in the world, how we can manifest around it, and actually what's going on that is actually teaching us how we can manifest not only a better life for ourselves, but a better world. So I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that the world has just been a total exposure of not only corruption, but mishandling information and just the way people are complacent with maybe their daily jobs or settling for things that might quite not be serving them the best way they know that they're deserving of. But in order to change that and manifest a better life, we have to change the way we perceive the reality first. Instead of saying, oh, the reality should change and then I'm going to feel better. Of course, it would be nice, but the analogy here is kind of like going up to an old stove, like a wood stove, and saying, hey, give me some heat, and then I'm going to give you some wood. It doesn't look that way. You've got to smile first, and then the reflection in the mirror will mirror that change. And I know that's hard, and I'm not saying you just got to go out and act as if the world has already changed. But inside, you have to break that chain where the perception of reality is holding you back. Once you really step into what's coming out from within you and allow that perspective to see it as if, it's already done, then the reality will start to mirror that change back to you. But the big question comes up, like, are we in exile right now? And I don't just mean like our spirits in exile in our bodies, because yeah, we all have bodies, and while we're here, that's the functioning mechanism. But while we're in these bodies, if our soul is in exile, we won't actually feel that connection that we already have with the divine source. We won't feel the light of Creator God. And how do we know this? It's when our desires, you know, fleeting temporal desires start to outweigh that inner connection of light with the light of source. When the tendencies and the push pull of bodily functions overpowers the soul, and we are subject to those desires, just desires like having relationship, not that there's anything wrong with relationships, but what I'm saying is when we're seeking fulfillment in relationships instead of being fulfilled already and then fulfilling relationships manifest around us, or we seek pleasure in food. Some people, there's different kinds of food, and hey, I've been guilty of this too, even when I was strict raw vegan, by the way. Or just any kind of pleasure. Some people might just want to zone out and just watch TV all evening, right? That is a way of desensitizing certain aspects of your soul and just giving the physical mind some form of stimuli. But these are all distractions, literally masks that we're putting in front of us, in front of our connection with source, that's always there, that's always calling out to us, and that we can always tap into, but we have these barriers that we've established in the way. And you may wonder, like, am I in exile? Am I really there? Well, just sit for 5 minutes and see where your thoughts go. Sit in the silence and, just try to focus on your breath. Put out other thoughts. And when you start to realize that thoughts are starting to come back in, pay attention to what those thoughts are. If you go to hate, or if you go to anger, or, he said, she said, whatever, this is the easiest diagnostic test. Just sit back and relax and pay attention to where your thoughts are. And if they go to this place of spiraling out of control in disharmony and angst, with the world, then you've tested positive for spiritual exile. So as these desires come to the surface, there's a bit of inner work that we need to do to fix it. But we can all get there. We can all come to the place where we want to help someone else rather than lying or, desiring something of someone else's, or just eating or sleeping or procreating, whatever it is. Why not funnel and channel this energy into plans and desires to pray or meditate. Just get in connection with Source. Just get in connection with the talent that Source gave you. These are all bridges to that power. The bridge to your talents actually are the most profound bridge, because you have talents, and not only that, you were born and came through certain experiences that shaped you and gave you certain perspectives that will allow that talent to come through into the world a certain way. And when you start doing that, when you start bringing light to other people's lives through that essence, that's the beginning of crossing that bridge and setting your mind free from that perspective, that vantage point of exile. You start to see the picture clear, the broader picture, the whole for what it is, the pleroma. But it's through certain kinds of work that we change ourselves and actually get better. Because, of course, we all learn the desires of the body, right? And that, of course, has an aspect of satisfaction to it. Otherwise, nobody would want it in the first place. But when you really get down to it, that satisfaction is fleeting, right? I mean, it's like walking by the bakery in the morning and you smell that bread, it's almost intoxicating. It's like you're a zombie and you're just like, oh, give me bread. Bagels, cinnamon buns, whatever it is, but it's running on a default program. And if you do eat whatever cupcake or whatever it is, you realize, yeah, it was satisfaction, but after like 20 minutes, you want to taste that again. And that satisfaction isn't as fulfilling as really the light, the essence. Jesus even said to the woman at the well, if you drink these waters, you're going to thirst again. But the waters I give, meaning the living Christ, think whatever you will of the literal story, but that living Christ, that living water, whoever drinks the waters I give him will never thirst. Indeed, these waters will well up inside of him into a fountain of living water. So we can really tap into Source and embody this essence, but we have to do the work. And this work, it's a bit of suffering, but guess what? That prized essence that we wish to create is a new wine. It's oil. And over, scripture compares, the righteous like oil or wine. Why? Because where does these liquids come from? They come from, of course, the olive and the grape, but how do you get it out? You have to press that grape. You have to squeeze it. And it's under the pressure. And then when you see the grape after it's been crushed, you're like, sorry, guy. But the grape juice that comes out of it is then turned into wine. And that wine, when it's finished, that you've transcended, the physicality of being embodied in just a little fruit. Now you're wine, now you're oil. And these liquids, they're expensive. Like, olive oil, pure olive oil is pretty expensive. And back in the day, it was even more expensive. And of course, now even wine, you can find bottles of wine in hundreds, even thousands of dollars. So the fruit grows free. It grows in abundance. Of course, people plant vineyards and they put up fences, and they employ people that they need to pay. So they charge for all the produce. But the fruit grows free. It's in abundance in nature. But the liquid that's obtained is obtained through this process of labor. And that's where the real value lies. But it's only obtained in the process of pressing it out, of squeezing it under pressure. And if I don't do the work myself, even if I do the work myself, it will take forever, just to work through one issue, and then there's another issue, and then there's another issue. But when the pressure comes from the world above, we get this oil out, and it's not like I got to bang my head on the wall or sleep on a bed of nails or, walk on the burning logs like a fakir does. That's all like methods that people have discovered help them, but then they turn it into an edifice. The real way to do this is to disconnect from the physical world, disconnect from those pleasures, even if it's temporarily, and access the fire within. That fire is the refiner's fire, and it burns away all the dross, all the impurities, and in bringing your own consciousness to face some of these issues, you allow the higher fire to purge away the dirt. And I think that what's been going on with the world lately is before all this lockdown hit, people weren't paying attention. I myself was guilty of this. We were all like hypnotized by our day to day. We have to keep working. We got to keep trying to get this one or move to this place or do this kind of job, whatever it was, right? We were all just stuck in this hamster wheel, and we weren't getting anywhere without really coming to terms with, what are we doing? Is this serving me? Can I make a better life? Maybe I can make some better choices. The whole world, and I worked in customer service, and I saw people, they were just like zombies coming in every week to pick up their furniture or do this project or that project, and they really weren't taking time. Not just my coworkers, but I can read energy pretty well. And I saw that customers were just stuck in this hamster wheel. And all of a sudden, the master, the true source said, you know what? I don't like where this is going. I've had it. It's not that people have imposed the lockdown. It manifested as organizations complying and the whole world saying, yeah, we deserve a break. It's nice to see dolphins swimming in the Venice Canal, but Source has ordained this so that we as humans actually appreciate seeing dolphins swim in the Venice canals, seeing skies that are not streaked with, whatever you call that grid work. Source runs the show. Source is the master. Nothing runs without this force. And to say that there's any power outside this source that is influencing world events, that can do something without the permission of the master, is an admission that you're denying source, that you're saying that there's someone in competition with all things, the pleroma. And the olive, of course, is also connected to the olives in the back of the brain. And those olives are connected to the living Christ, the Christ that raises within you. And when you raise Christ in you, you can literally transform all that dross. We can do so much on our own, and it is a process. But once you activate the living Christ in you, the power therein is nothing like I can do, nothing like anybody can do. It literally transforms everything. And when I read scripture, I see this everywhere. Literally, it's all over history. It's been hidden from us like you wouldn't believe. It's not just the literal Christ. This is the story that runs all things. And the ancient Arabs knew this according to the revelation that came to them, and it had to be suppressed by the institution that we see there now today. But originally, it was a Gnostic tradition, and there's even an oracle that was received about the olive, and not just that, but about the pressure that when the olive is subjected to, it transforms mankind. The oracle, which is the 95th in the Quran, reads, "By the fig and the olive, by Mount Sinai, by this secured land, yea, we proportioned humanity by a calculated excellence. Then we return him to the lowest of the low, except those who trust and commit virtue. So for them is a compensation without interruption." So what causes you to deny the way? Is not God among judges the judicious? That literally means, Source is the most just of all judges. Judges might ignore evidence here, or they might be missing this sort of data, and they might make a verdict that might not be absolutely just. But who sees all things is Source. And when we're subjected to this kind of pressure, we're created to bring us back into a higher realm of not only awareness, but manifestation. We're created with this already in us, like the olive is already created with that oil in it. We have the essence of a dream life in us, of a utopia for everybody in us. But how does it get out? We have to get the pressure to get rid of the distractions. And the symbolism used is very interesting because you got the fig and the olive in the back of the brain. Mount Sinai, of course, where Moses had his revelation, and the Quranic revelation is tied in with that. But the institution has separated itself and created a whole separate edifice under the brand of institutionalized religion, but it is not that way at all. It is revelation from source, and source is one, source is all. And even they say it, God is one. The Jews say it, the Muslims say it, Christians say it, and yet we've lost that connection that, hey, God created everything. All things are manifest as a result of just a singularity. And not only that, but that Mount Sinai also refers to this mount, the mountain which is your cranium. And in that cranium is secreted the Christ oil. That is the Messiah in you, the hope of glory. So allow that to flow forth and bring to pass a new life for you. Do the inner work. Get right with this life force. Because we got to get to the point where, whatever source wants to bring to pass in the world, bring it on. The sooner the better. As we move through all this corruption, as we move through all this dross, all this filth, we're going to end up moving into fulfillment. And this grand finale is being manipulated so that, a bunch of people, myself included, were expecting a man to come on the show and save everything. Well, that man has a calling. He has a personality. He was raised a certain way so that he can bring his talents into the world and manifest them in a way that only he can. But what is he doing? What is he standing for? And not only that, we got to look at what the other side is standing for. This whole game is being manipulated by a much stronger force to say that I don't want you looking at a man. I don't want you to look at a team. I don't want you to look at an organization or an institution. I want you to look at me. And all people are being united under this essence, under this source, because the swamp is not just in America. It's in the world. Yeah, I said swamp. It's in the whole world. And the Messianic age is not just for Jews, and it's not just for Christians claiming it. So it's not a single man, it's not a single institution. It is the unifying creator of all life, that life essence that gives life to a Hindu the same as it does to a Presbyterian. Source wants to make this known when this stage unfolds into this new paradigm. So even though the corrupt politicians, even though corrupt media and all this corruption is above us, there's something pulling their strings and making them expose themselves. Even though we may not be able to buy or sell or travel or congregate, the New World Order, of course, has positioned themselves above us, but Source is above them all. And that force is saying, I don't like the way things have been going. I don't like the situation of the world before. There is no going back. I don't believe it will be back to normal in a couple months or whenever First, it was just 2 weeks, right, to flatten the curve. Now we're looking at a 1-year anniversary. So either way, there's no going back to whatever normal was. We are moving forward to a completely new reality. Like Source didn't like, all the coveting and all the lying and all the lewdness and just the 9-to-5 hamster wheel. Whatever gender confusion, different genders, same genders, whatever. The bars, the clubs, the restaurants that serve food that's not quite the best for you. But, I need to travel. Should I get the shot? Well, I can't tell you one way or another. You're going to have to get in tune with Source to help you make that decision. But first things first, don't you have faith in the master playwright? Maybe Source is saying, take some time and grow a garden. Oh, but I can't travel without a certificate. So just sit and get in tune with Source. Get in tune with the talent within you. Maybe there's something better for you to be doing. Learn to talk to me, Source is saying. Don't go to the mall. Don't, go grocery. Save your money. Save your time. Do your shopping online, spend it doing some real things of real essence. And I'm sure people have figured that out by now. Some of you guys have already started to do that, already started to get in tune with Source, because our job is not in fighting the darkness. There's no fight when a light shines. Literally across a stadium, a single candle can be lit and that light will pierce across the entire stadium. Our job right now is simply to increase light. Light eliminates all darkness. And how do we do that? We simply connect to Source. Like a whole stadium filled with candles. Like all it takes is one candle. And that candle lights another candle. Then you got 2. And then those 2 candles light two more candles, and then you got four, and then all of a sudden those four turn to 8, and then 16 and 32 and 64. Before you know it, the entire stadium, there's candles in every seat, and that light is how we spread our light. One person to the other, and then that person to another. All it takes is one, and before we know it, we can have the whole world ablaze. So connect your soul to Source, get out of exile, because Source is really beckoning and saying, we are creating a new reality. We are stepping forward. Yes, it might look like the Illuminati is above you, is above humanity, showing humanity just how helpless it is. But guess what? When humanity really taps into their power, that power is going to transform what appears to be above them. That ceiling is going to break. We're literally going to break through that seventh heaven where Saturn rules, and we're going to enter a true connection with Source, with divine essence, and step into our fulfillment, fulfilling not only our talents, but creating a world that we know that we all deserve, that we know we were deserving of all along. So I love you guys. Do whatever inner work you can. Keep the faith and stay optimistic, because out of that pressure comes the best olive oil, the best wine. We, my friends, are making a new wine. So I'll see you in the next video. Joel signing out once again. Agape. Salaam. Namaste.